Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Not come on in. Not come. Sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm weird. Whatever.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl BondyBlue. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl BondyBlue. Okay, follow me on Instagram and let's get into the video. Right?
All right. Okay, you guys. I'm actually really excited about this one. Y'all, I'm going to just tell y'all off rip before we even get into it. This movie is about becoming an adult and how becoming an adult changes us. And at some point, in order to find who we are and what makes us happy, we have to revisit a time when we were young enough to feel free and imaginative. We have to bring that version of us to adulthood because without it, we are in lack. And I wrote because that's what I was, after I finished making my notes for this, that's what I came to. Because I feel like this movie is so poignant for me personally because I feel like I just recently, am going through this transitional phase as a grown woman's girl. I'll be 35 on the 26th. Okay. And I am changing. I am not the same person. Hey girl. I am not the same person I was at 21, at 22, even at 27, 28. I'm not that same person. I'm still that girl, you know what I'm saying? But it's different. And how I see, things are a little bit different now. I am more me centered. I am developing boundaries. And a part of me getting to a better space as an adult in my 30s now was having to go back to the version of myself when I was very young and bringing her up with me. Like, I literally have said that before, but that's when my therapist said, like, that's what it feels like. You go get this version of yourself that had damage done to her, and you bring her up to adulthood with you, and you honor her. You honor her pain. You honor what she needs, what she wants, what she didn't get. You reparent her. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you have to go back in order to fix those things. You have to go back. And I feel like that was one of the main things prevalent in this movie. Now, the thing for me, okay, but because we're going to get into it. But my best friend, when I was growing up, was also a guy. Okay? Shout out to Jared. Jared and I were best friends from, I want to say, around 9, 10, 11, 12, those years. That's like the beginnings of our friendship. By the time we were both in high school, we were like this. Taught me how to drive. At one point, we were both dating two girls that were best friends. So we were always together. We lived like there's a house in between our houses, but we lived very close to each other. He was the only male friend of mine that my dad liked and would allow me to go to his house and allow him to come to my house. His parents were always very, very like nice to me and allowed me, to be in his room and just be chilling a lot of the times because I just needed to get out of my house, and a lot of times I couldn't go anywhere. So it was like you got to have somebody to go by, do something, get out. So my best friend was a guy growing up, and we connected over a lot of things, but we lost our friendship uh, after having a moment. And after we lost the friend, and I'll get into it as we get into this story, but in the process of us losing the friendship, this decade or so goes by. We find our way back to each other in a significant way. And it's almost like, oh my God, I forgot what this was like. I forgot how I was. I forgot how you were. You forgot how you were. We forgot how we were when we were together. Like this real blunt honesty. There's a space where we both recognize each other's issues and we can read each other on it and accept it. And we've always been that way. Um, we have so much history and we are so much alike as people and as individuals that it was almost as if the time just kind of sped up and we were right back, where we left off in a way as far as our friendship was concerned. And now, like, as adults, we're trying to like rebalance our friendship and being in each other's lives because we feel like moving forward for him, there's nobody he's going to be able to be in a relationship with that's not going to be able to be comfortable with our friendship. My husband is cool with him. They actually are a lot alike. And that was also very important for me, for them to get along, for them to like each other, because they both were safe spaces for me. And I didn't have a lot of safe spaces. So my husband's a safe space as a tall guy. My best friend is a safe space as a tall guy. They're both very like mild-mannered, cool dudes. But my best friend is a little bit more extra. And it doesn't look extra, but it's extra. But it's my type of extra. So we get each other, right? So I get this movie so much because it was so exhausting in our childhood and also growing up. Like now in this adult time, it's been annoying for us that people have a hard time accepting that our relationship is only platonic. Like people, nah, y'all can't possibly. And it's like we tried, it didn't happen. Like I don't know. Like it's really more like a big brother type of, and little sister type of relationship. And only little because I'm like a year younger than him and he's like 6'7", something like that. Yeah, Jared's like huge. Like Jared's like 6'6". Yeah, 6'6". So yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I get this movie so much, and watching it, it definitely tapped in, and I forgot how good it was because that messaging of having to, go back and get your old self, go get your dreams, go get the passions you have for yourself instead of settling, because that's what a lot of us will end up doing in adult life, settling for a life instead of having the one that we dreamt we could have, because along the way things happened that made us feel like we couldn't have that. So we start to be realistic with ourselves, but really we just stop dreaming or we stop pushing hard for those dreams. And sometimes you got to go back and get them hoes. And, I'm personally one of those people that absolutely had to go back and get all of my talents to come up to do this. You know what I'm saying? So I get this movie so much, y'all. So to get into it, you know what I'm saying? The movie starts with the Roots crew. Y'all, one of my favorite groups of all times. Black Thought is one of my favorite rappers of all time. He spits his face off, but I digress. Sydney Young, played by Sanaa Lathan. Okay, Sydney asks, when did you fall in love with hip hop? She talks to Pete Rock, Black Thought, Jermaine Dupri, Talib Kweli, Common, Russell Simmons, Questlove, Big Daddy Kane, Mos Def, did I say Big Daddy Kane, Method Man, Questlove? But yeah, they just talked about their experiences in the first songs they heard that really got them locked into hip hop, and just talking about how rap was like seeing yourself, and it's like light. They speak on how it was freedom for them, and for a lot of them it set them free from circumstances. So it absolutely was the everybody was getting the how you see in movies. They have like this moment where the light comes on, and it's just like God sent them this moment so that they can forever be changed, for some reason. But yeah, like that's what hip hop was for a lot of people. Me personally, I'm gonna say I fell in love with hip hop specifically when More Money, More Problems came out. And I say that because never before then had I ever wanted to play a song or listen to it so much. Like put it in, flip it, put it in, flip it, put it in, take it out, flip it. You know what I'm saying? Like over and over again. And that's when I started really falling in love with rap. I have old parents, so I was always into different types of music. But when that song came out, my sister was listening to that, and I really glued into it because my sister was listening to it. Then it became like me, myself, when Let There Be Eve came out. Let There Be Eve was the first CD I ever bought with my own money, and I will never forget it because it was like, this is like a female rapper. Like, this is a huge, like, this is a moment. Like, it was a moment. It wasn't just like, this is back in the day when CDs was a whole thing. You know, you open it up, you got to look at all of the pictures, you got to read the lyrics and shit like that. And if anybody remembers Let There Be Eve, that first album, that was an insanely good album. Like, insanely good from beginning to end. Okay, and you know, Love Is Blind is on that one. My bitches that'll change the lives, my bitch. Like, you know, so I fell in love with hip hop on that album for real, for real. After that, it's been, you know what I'm saying, hip hop head ever since. So that's my when I fell in love with hip hop story, because I felt like I should share that. So we see Sydney in 1984 in New York on the playground across the street from the projects, and some dudes are out there breakdancing on cardboard. And then she sees Dre, okay, played by Losing Isaiah, also Lil C's looking ass, okay, all right. And he's like the only little kid out there bopping his head, and we see Dana Dane, Slick Rick, and Dougie Fresh out there. And y'all, I love this moment because I love all of these people, but specifically Slick Rick. The way Slick Rick will come into a song, like I love the way he comes into a song. And if you listen to any of the UK rappers now, I feel like their accent, they don't seem to be able to get their speaking accent to jive with American rap or American hip hop. At least not, I mean, I'm sure there are some good artists out there, y'all, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, their accent doesn't sound good on hip hop beats to me. And when I've heard that, you know what I'm saying? It's never been anywhere close compatible to that Slick Rick. Like the way he comes on the track, like I love it. Okay, no, don't even get me into it. So Sid grew up with Dre in hip hop. Throughout the movie, there is the similarities and the nuances of how Dre and hip hop and Sid and hip hop are synonymous. They're the same. Finding, you know, both of those things at the same time, those people, you know, finding the person and the music, the art form at the same time, the calling at the same time with this person, absolutely feels like you know, meant to be type of moments, right? And as an adult, I feel like there are a lot of moments where I could think about, and it was just like, you know, one of those moments where you meet somebody or something happens and you know it's like everything gonna be different after this because of this moment. Yeah, it was one of those moments. So while finishing her article, Drake calls her at work on speakerphone, and he lies and says he's alone until she humbles him in front of all of the executives at Millennium, the record label. And they are giving, you know, Sean P. Diddy Combs shiny, all about the money, all about the Benjamins, baby. No real artistry to the rap vibes. Like that's what it's given. Like the true hip hop fans at one point started to really look down on the shiny suits and shit. But essentially, in 2023, we know that even the shiny suits was real hip hop. Like, in comparison to niggas not saying any real words on songs these days, okay? But, and also, like, not having any integrity in the music. Like, I forgot who it was that was just recently talking about how there's no soul in the music anymore, and that's why it doesn't have any longevity. I think it was Manny Fresh. Manny Fresh was just saying, because they talked about how Back That Ass Up is one of the best love songs of all time. They so stupid. But he was just saying how the songs don't have the same soul that they used to have. Even the songs like that. Even the song that was about dancing or backing that ass up. And I'm like, I think because when people were making songs back in the day, they were putting more thought into it, even if it sounded simple. They were putting more thought into the layering of the tracks, the samples that they picked, the melodies, the wording, like whatever they were doing. I think they were putting more sauce on it so it would have longevity. Versus now, the environment is popcorn. You pop it in, it goes, you know, haywire for 5 minutes. You pop it out, it's over. You know what I'm saying? So, and there are some good songs that stick, but for the most part, everybody is now coming out with one-hit wonders over and over again. No real albums, no real continuity to the music. And when there's no thought, when there's no story, when there's no continuity to the music, then there's no integrity, there's no soul to it, and we don't feel it as much. It's just, it is what it is. But it's so funny how this is like 2002, and they're already talking about how the music is decaying, like how it's, degrading, how it's not as smart, it's not as thoughtful, it's not as deep as it was before. And there's the Brown Sugar song, you did, and you invited me. You did, you did, you did. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit was so fun. I love that they played that song. That was the Brown Sugar song that Mos Def did under the rap name Kavi. Also Chris on this movie. I love that song. But that's what, plays in the background. And that song, I think, really exemplified what people felt like was real hip hop, which is a very thoughtful, good sample with somebody with a really good flow that was actually rapping real words. And they made sense if you were listening. You catch your double entendres and shit. Like, rap, I feel like initially was something smart. The way people viewed jazz back in the day. Like, back in the day when jazz first came out, people thought that jazz was like, criminal music, Negro music, whatever you want to call it. In 2023, you know that jazz music is actually, and not elevated music, but real jazz music is some of the most complex, like, hard written and to perform music ever. Like, it's very, very intellectually made jazz music. Okay, now you know that. I feel like the original, like, premise behind hip hop and certain rappers, if you have faith on the background, I think the original process of it was a little bit more extensive and a little bit more tenuous. Like, even when you hear people like Nicki Minaj talk about how they, thinking about their metaphors and setting up they themes and all of that type of shit. Like, it's something that's smart. It's not something that's done with little thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, motherfuckers is writing and then rewriting. You know what I'm saying? Wayne is the one that really gave life to the idea that just getting up there and spitting on the mic is supposed to be good enough, but everybody forgets the background of somebody that's been writing and performing for so long that now this is something that they naturally can do. This is their gift. Now everybody thinks that they should be able to just get into the studio and say some shit on the mic and it's supposed to be a hit. And somehow, because I think they be putting shit in the music. Back in the day, y'all, do y'all remember the Spice Girls movie, Josie and the Pussycats? I feel like those movies were talking about how they would put messaging in those pop songs, those songs that everybody really liked that were catchy and everything. They put certain messaging in those songs to sell and promote certain things, okay? And I believe that they do that in some of this music because it doesn't make any sense for why it's popping. Like, some of the shit, especially some of the shit that I have heard on these internets, it's like, who told? This person co-signed this song. Why would they do that? Is how I be feeling a lot of the time, girl. But I'm gonna just go ahead and leave it on. I'm gonna stick to the Apple Music and the title playlist that they curate for me based on my listening ear. Okay, because some of the stuff that's popping now, in 2002, that was considered real rap. Like, some of the stuff that they put out now, So he's working at Millennial, like I said, Shiny Suit record label, and he has a new project that just came out, and everybody's waiting to hear Sydney's review on it at Double XL Magazine. If she writes a good review on it, that means it's going to be successful in the streets, right? So he was calling to see if he can pull her because she's his best friend and she is the person. So he pulling rank. I'm about to show y'all that I'm the shit by calling my homegirl that's the editor at Double XL, and she gonna give us the lowdown before everybody else get it. He was using her to floss, right? So that's why she had to humble him in that moment and, talk about, does everybody know, that you was still peeing in the bed at this age or some shit like that to embarrass him. He takes her off speakerphone. But Drew, child, this was a good fine Tay Diggs, girl. This was a good new money fine Tay Diggs, girl. It made me want to go back and watch how Stella got her groove back. Y'all, I am so excited about this trip. I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, so, because I have no idea where we're going. Like, I have no idea where we're going. No idea. Like, the place I thought that we may have been going, we're not going there. So I'm just kind of like, oh my God, this is gonna be so amazing. Hey Jamila. Yes, Josie and the Pussycats, prime example. Yes. Okay, so y'all remember that, right? So, like I said, Drew is a music exec at Millennial, and he's calling for an early review for his artist new album. Sydney and her cousin Francine, played by my girl Queen Latifah, okay, Babyface. Okay, it's crazy watching this movie and seeing how young everybody looks. But she's Sydney's cousin, and they go to Russell Simmons' Def Jam party, and Beanie Siegel and Fabulous are kind of like running behind her at the party, trying to get her to come and listen to Fab's album or something like that. And, it's obvious that she's somebody, but she's like low key, she's the anti hip hop girl, right? Because the hip hop girls want to be seen for their bodies and their pretty faces. Sid is just chilling in a corner, but everybody wants to know how she feels about their music because she's so into the music. You know what I'm saying? So she's that girl. And we all know that that's the prototype. Like that's a prototype. The smart girl, but she's still sexy. You know what I'm saying? The brown sugar, basically. She fits the prototype for the girl that the late 90s, early 2000s men promoted that they wanted, right? This is a woman that is smart and successful and can take care of herself, and she doesn't need a man. But she wants one. And so she in fact will find one. Okay. So it's crazy to me now the way we have this attitude towards the independent woman, trope, because essentially this is 2002 and this is what is being sold to us as how we should be. And honestly, I feel like this was not a bad way to be. If you looked at Sydney's life, Sydney had a nice place in New York City, a really good job. She was in all of the parties and shit. She had her good cousin homegirl that she could hang out with. And eventually she had some dick to write. She had dick. She had Kelby. She had him. Like, her life was nice to me. Okay, but I feel like this is also like the independent woman that everybody talks about now, that they act, oh, I don't need no man. Yeah, don't need, want. Okay, want, therefore have, but don't need, because if you need, then you're at a disservice, and niggas can take advantage. Child, not maybe you will be floating. I absolutely will be floating. I don't have, the camera for that, but I'm definitely going to have my phone set up somewhere for y'all to see me and Lyric laying in some damn water. Shut up, Kristen, don't say nothing. Don't tell her where we going. Don't tell her where we going. I'm not supposed to know. I want it to be a surprise. Okay. Sydney was living the life. She left that bum and disappearing ex and got it together. It did feel like that, right? Because at one point Francine called her a Terry McMillan character. I'm like, she absolutely has been a Terry McMillan character, okay? But Sydney is somebody, even though she's chilling. She mentions that all the brothers she meets at these parties never have their shit together. But here comes Dre. Dre comes in looking like the man, dapping everybody off, And he comes over to her and he hugs her. I miss you, baby. I miss you too. Like, it's mad love and shit, right? Then here comes Dre's new woman, Reese, jumping on him and hugging him before even turning around to acknowledge Sydney, which I feel like was extremely intentional and so disrespectful. Like, I hate when women act like they're not insecure, because as soon as she's introduced as Sydney, then, oh my God, I've heard so much about you. You're so beautiful. Oh my God, your dress. Oh my God, your hair. And it's just like, girl, give me a break. Both of them being fake, okay? But Sydney had learned to, have these moments with the girlfriends with the assumption that they will cycle out eventually. So she doesn't really have any feelings until Reese walks away and Dre explains that he wants to propose to her. Now let's talk about this damn proposal. Because my husband pointed this out. He didn't even get down on one knee. I said, babe, you're right. First of all, you are a big deal. Y'all are at Russell Simmons' party, Def Jam party, and you decide to propose to your woman after all of these people are dapping you off like you that man, and you take her over to the stairs and propose to her over to the side, and you don't even get down on one knee to draw the attention to the moment, which if you were trying to draw attention to the moment, it would have behooved you to get on one knee in front of everybody. That's not what he did. So to me, that was a red flag from jump, that it wasn't something he really wanted to do, but maybe thought that was in his best interest to do, specifically because Reese was a lawyer, and them being a power couple played into the vision he had for himself at this point. You know what I'm saying? Shiny suits and shit, right? We're about the money. We about being successful, not necessarily about having, integrity in the situation. So I thought that was definitely a red flag. Sydney looked sad though. She looked real sad. So Francine helps Sydney unpack, and we see that massager from Brookstone that looks like my magic wand vibrator. You guys can get a magic wand mini vibrator from Shop SEDURE. The link is down below in the description box. There's a whole bunch of good things to get on that site. It is a black owned sex toy site, so make sure you check them out, okay, and use my link so I can get my little percentage. Thank you. But my magic wand is going on vacation with me and my husband. Absolutely. Okay, so Francine keeps insinuating that Sid doesn't have time for any man because they aren't Dre. Okay, you're really not feeling no man because you're waiting on Dre. You ain't saying it, but it's subconscious. She tells her that Reese invited Sydney to her bridal tea, and when she gets there, they're answering questions about Dre, and Sydney knows all the answers because she's the best friend, knows his drink, knows his middle name, knows, his favorite song, all of those things. And all of the women are giving her the eye. And I'm just kind of like, even though I do understand why they would feel away, to me, you looking at Sydney like something is wrong with her for knowing that, but she grew up with him. I'm looking at you like, why don't you know those things? Maybe you shouldn't be marrying this man if you can't answer those questions and she can. Instead of everybody looking at her like she did something wrong. I ain't like that. And then she asked her cousin Francine to get the wedding gift. And the wedding gift was some panties, like a thong, a leather thong with a zipper in the front. I said, what we gonna do with this zipper? I said, that's not for a man. Like, that looked like that was for a man. That didn't look like that. That looked like it was for a man. So a man can like unzip and pull his dick. You know what I mean? I don't know. But the freaky auntie said, very nice. Very nice. Like she had seen something like that and they were not as good quality. Okay. Very nice. She said it was very nice. Okay. So Sid meets Dre in the park after to get a hot dog because they didn't have anything but those little cucumber sandwiches. I said, girl, what is going on? You can have cucumber sandwiches, but you also need to have roast beef, ham, and turkey. Duh. Okay? But either way, they complain about, all the fancy restaurants that Reese has had Dre going to since they started dating. And I'm like, so that's not who you are? And I can't stand when somebody try to act like it's the worst thing to go to five-star restaurants. They have really good service and the food is usually on point. So I when people have these types of conversations, I roll my eyes trying to act like, really expensive restaurants are just bougie for no reason. No, bitch. Most of the time they're bougie for an absolute reason. Like the restaurants I go to that are 5-star and that cost a lot of money and all of that, it's always worth every damn penny. Do you hear me? Okay, from the lump crab meat to somebody putting my napkin in my lap and opening my damn menu for me. Okay, so this conversation was just like more so to let me know that you perpetrating with Reese. You not really into her like that because you would rather walk in the park and eat a hot dog like Sydney. And that's cool, but don't be with somebody like Reese if that's not who you really are. Just because you want to perpetrate a certain, shiny suit wearing ass brand to everybody. So he describes her as brown sugar. Brown sugar is wifey material. Fine, smart, classy, but not a snob. Sexy, but not a hoe. This is the perfect example of how a lot of us were raised and socialized to be as young women, which is very confusing. And then he also talks about, but he also likes the Cyndi Lauper honeys. Those are the girls that just want to have fun. And yeah, there are some girls who just want to have fun, and there are some guys that just want to have fun. I feel like he was absolutely right about the fact that the issue between men and women is that men recognize when women aren't to be taken seriously, but they play games with those women. Okay, and women will allow they recognize it, but they'll just allow it. They'll allow the man to be a hoe. Y'all, I'm messing it up because I started seeing the all inclusive in the 5-star, and I got off my points. But yes, no, Yes, the Cyndi Lauper honeys that just want to have fun. Men want to just have fun too. Women will just try to have serious relationships and babies and shit with these men that just want to have fun. That's the problem. Men will a lot of the times have fun with these women and they might put a baby in them, but they won't marry them. Okay, they won't do those things with them, which honestly I feel like we've been taught that makes the Cyndi Lauper honeys not as good as brown sugar. But in 2023, that's bullshit to me. To me, it just made it so that you can have a box of women that you can degrade and get away with it, and there's another box of women that you have to respect because they help you get your respect. So I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And that's exactly what was happening with Reese. Reese was even when they were walking into Russell Simmons' party, everybody's also speaking to her as she's walking up behind him because she's a big deal too. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just about him. So I do feel like on some level, these men recognize that brown sugar and wifey material is the woman that you use to get where you're trying to go. And Cyndi Lauper honeys who just want to have fun are the ones that you can, have your desires and all of your thirst quenched by. And I feel like that's bullshit. I feel like that's bullshit. The compartmentalization is not fair because it makes women just tools in this. And women can't possibly have these feelings as well, right? Not in this society where y'all judge women for thinking the same way as if this is not a human thing. To know that there are some people that are just for the dick and not for marriage. And there are some women that are a sexual experience and you cannot keep them. You know what I'm saying? Like, or they're just an experience and you can't keep them. Or the men are just an experience and you can't keep them. It is what it is. The sooner people get to recognizing that in certain personalities, the less they'll be like, breaking their own heart, falling in love with people who good and goddamn well was never going to be able to provide you fully what you needed in the situation in the first place. Okay? Which is what he was talking about. Okay? I just feel like we should be having these conversations on both sides of the coin because just as there are women who men feel like are just for sex, I feel like there are men that are in fact just for sex. Okay? She asked what type is she, and he jokes that she could be a video model. And I was just kind of like, child, please. That was his way of not telling you that you brown sugar. You already know. He just didn't want to give you that compliment because niggas never want to, I don't want to make your head big. But I also don't want to have a moment with you where I'm giving you that type of compliment because we're trying to keep it cute. So they go shopping for a housewarming gift for Sydney, and the sales clerk thinks that they are a married couple. And she was like, please, no. And he was like, the fuck was that about? Like, why are you talking about me like I ain't shit? And she was like, because you ain't shit. Okay. And then he convinces her to go see an artist that he wants to sign, perform at this club, and it's Kavi, aka Chris, aka Mos Def, right? And when Dre tries to introduce himself to Kavi after his performance, Kavi is ditching and diving that damn card for dear life. He is not interested in signing to Millennium and having his publishing sold for millions of dollars. So he runs away, okay, and does not take Dre's card. I mean, he was trying real hard, like he was going to stick that card into a slot or some shit like that. So, y'all, then Renington, the Hip Hop Dalmatians, run up saying that they're his new group and that they are just signed to Millennium. Y'all, I hate the fact that this is like so like this is really detrimental. Like this was showing us how they were like putting such trash messaging, the hoe is mine, that bitch, all of this shit, that language, so problematic, so much like a part of the issues between men and women in our culture, for real. You know what I'm saying? That type of language is disrespectful, and then everybody acts like it's not, but we know it really essentially is. Okay? But the thing that killed me is how much this is like my favorite part of the movie when them niggas is in the studio. And we gonna do it. We gonna do it when we get to that point, okay? But it's Renington, the rapping Dalmatians, okay? So Dre goes to see Simon, his boss, about it, and he says that he doesn't care about the rap. He just wants to sell records. Simon is a shiny suit. I want to make my money. I don't care about the culture. Fuck these niggas ass dude, okay? And he called the boys Ben and Ken. He said when he saw that shit, he knew he had to sign them because it was gonna sell. He had never seen no shit like that before. I said, so because you were so astonished by how crazy it was, you decided to sell it? Like that that's the mindset though. So Dre, I don't know where this comes from. You were just disgusted by this, but now you've decided that maybe y'all can do a remake of The Girl Is Mine, and Simon suggests calling it The Hoe Is Mine. It's too hard to keep it real and profitable at the same time. A real statement that was just threw out there real quick. I hated it. Y'all, whatever happened? Like, I just remember back in the 90s, like, was it that hard to be profitable? And the music still had some type of, meaning or some type of heart to it. Like, I instinctually think of um Mr. Wendell, Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Lord, I really been real stressed. There was so many different songs back in the day that was like hits on the radio that we heard all the time that were like inspirational, or songs about shit that was really going on in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like everything wasn't always, cash rules everything around me, dollar dollar bills, y'all. Like everything wasn't that. There was like a real mix of all types of different music that was popping back in the 90s. And it seems as if as time went on, we got less and less of the variety and more of a certain sound or a certain type at a time. And that I find to be truly problematic, okay? I thought Dre was being sarcastic. You thought he was being sarcastic? I don't think he was being sarcastic. I don't think he was being sarcastic at all. I think he really meant that shit because they went in the studio and did it, and he was in there. Yes, Diggable Plan is cool like that. That was another. It was a whole bunch of songs that I mean, fuck, Lauryn Hill's whole fucking album was, what I'm saying, was the truth in a way as far as the women were concerned. Like from the standpoint of what the young girls is going through out here, like it's crazy how it is really not the same in value the way it used to be. We just had so many different options. We had so many different artists that were making great music, and some of it was very thoughtful and other of it was, back that ass up. But essentially it all kind of gave the same vibe of everybody's putting in real effort in their music. You know what I'm saying? Whether it sounded one way or another, different, whatever, it was like some real effort, blood, sweat, and tears going into the music that was being created. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel the same way about the music, as a whole these days. And that's it, as a whole. Okay? Because I feel like, are y'all really, making these playlists the best songs of 2020? Like, are y'all really doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, as much. Oh, and then the songs on it being all in the same genre. Like, if you go in 90s, you'll get like a whole list of songs that was like number ones that are like in the same genres. That just doesn't even happen anymore like that. It's all mixed up. Goddamn now music. I mean, shit, even back in the day, the pop music was even a little bit better or more catchier. Everything now sounds like y'all are making it for a movie soundtrack, and I just don't have time for that. Whatever happened to the shit just being a bop? You know what I'm saying? Like, we had the Spice Girls. Y'all even have that? You know what I'm saying? Like, stop right now. Thank you. Like, y'all have nothing. Like, it's just real sad out here. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, Dre goes to Sid and says that he's the one she's writing about when she says that hip hop has lost its way. And Love of My Life is playing in the background. And y'all, that was my fucking video. I used to love that shit. Yo, my name is the Boo, and I rock your world. Also known as the Gucci Girl, but I'm super cute. Play that bag, 36 and a half, because I hope that you will realize I got the haze alive that are hypnotized and knock it to your knees, make you eat cheese. You be so helpless, you be begging me, please. Love of my life, do you know you rock my world? Yeah, you be boy and I'll be girl. Yeah, it won't stop until the breaking love. Get into. Listen, don't even get me into it. Love of My Life was the shit, okay? Shit, there are times when you need someone. I will be by your side. Oh no, 'cause there is a light that shines special for you and me. Like, there was just so many songs, like, during the time that, like, so many good songs back in the day, y'all. You just go on and on and on. But anyway, back to Dre and Sid. He says he sold out for the money, the suits, the forward mobility. He's having a little breakdown, and she hugs him and comforts him and tells him to trust himself. And then she kisses him, and she had like a wrap on with like nothing under it, I'm guessing. So he, is making out with her and unwraps it, and then she's standing there naked, and then they stop. But he rushes out because he's supposed to be getting married tomorrow. Not getting married tomorrow and undressing your best friend in her living room. My God. How are we going? Like, what? Like, what? Oh my God. Listen, God of the world, spice up your life. Every boy and every girl, spice up your life. We run the world, spice up your life. Show me some of the left if you're having a good time. Shake it to the right if you know that you feel fine. Take it to the and run. Listen. You kids will never know. No, you should go stream some of these old songs because I feel like y'all were missing out. And you don't have to miss out. You can just go listen to it and then you can get back in the moment. Because I feel like I grew up listening to music that came out before I was born. What's y'all excuse? So at the wedding the next day, the music is generic. And that's how you know this shit not gonna work out. Let me keep it a buck with y'all. Any real music lovers, when you get married, there's a playlist, bitch. There's a playlist. Not only are we playing music walking down the aisle, it's different. It's different. Like, I still have my wedding playlist up here on my iTunes, like on my music and stuff. At least I thought I did, y'all. I thought I did. Either way, Jesus, okay? I still have it somewhere around here because I had to give it to the people to play at the wedding, okay? But either way, I just, if you really into music like that, there has to be a soundtrack to your love. You know what I'm saying? And because there was no soundtrack to the love during this wedding, is how I knew that the wedding wasn't going to really turn into nothing. Y'all wasn't fitting to stay together after this, okay? Because the wedding of a person that loves music and you playing generic, like, you mean to tell me that not a Joe track, nothing as she's walking down the aisle? Now, here I am, looking in the mirror, hope in pain, pain erased. Now the sky is clearer. I can see the sun. Now that all is said and done. Listen, don't make me do the wedding songs. Don't make me do the wedding songs from the other movies. This was weird. This is how I knew. Red flag. Red flag. Okay? So they have a moment where they look at each other and Francine peeps it and Francine is like, you ain't gonna say nothing because they like, speak now, forever hold your peace. Francine making all of this noise, making everybody in the wedding nervous, girl. Oh my God, what's gonna happen at these people wedding? But they kept it cute. They were able to, kiss and it's, man and wife and, all of that. It happens. And again, Sid looks sad. And then she talks about the union of hip hop to the mainstream was a hard thing. And how hard it was sharing. And so once again, we're speaking about hip hop, but also speaking about the relationship between Dre and Sydney. And then we have the montage of India Ari. Girl, get it together. Well, hold up. Didn't even want to admit it to yourself. And now your chest burns and your back aches from 15 years of holding the pain. And you only have yourself to blame if you continue to live this way. Get it together. Y'all, don't front on me. Y'all know that album was the shit. India Arie's first album was a, like, from beginning to end. I am ready for love. Listen, why are you hiding from me? Girl, listen, that was a time. That was a time to be alive, girl. Come home late. I feel like that song came out the same year. It seems you barely beat the sun. That wasn't on this movie, but we in the music vibe, so whatever. Roll with me or don't. So Sydney is working and going on terrible double dates with Francine, while Reese and Dre are having marital sex in their kitchen before work every day. It's giving Sid's life is sad and Dre's life is going well. Sid has a date with Kelby Dawson, played by the beautiful Boris Chestnut. I'm sorry, not Boris Chestnut, child. I'm sorry, y'all. Boris Kojo. I'm sorry. Boris Kojo. Okay, just as fine as he wants to be. He is a basketball player and he wants to rap. This is not a good sign. This is a sign that you should not date him. Like, you love hip hop, you love music. Usually when somebody is a basketball player and they want to be a rapper, they're not a good rapper. They're really not. Okay. Listen. Girl. So here come Dre and Reese come into the restaurant as, Sydney is getting into dangling her femininity in front of this man like Francine told her to. Dre says that he didn't recognize her. She looks amazing. Every time he throw a compliment her way, Reese is smiling but feeling a crack on the inside. So she asked them how their honeymoon was. It was amazing. And then here come running behind them loud and just ignorant as they want to be, running 10 to goddamn rapping Dalmatians, okay? Screaming and rhyming words all out in public for no reason whatsoever, child. I just was like, why y'all gotta embarrass us in public like this? When Reese says they're the real deal, I said, hang her up. Hang her up. Get her out of here. Get her out of here. Okay? The real deal. Girl, the real deal. Is that the name of the group? Get out of here. Reese saying that to Sydney. Sydney, the double XL writer, the writer who knows hip hop, who knows the music. People come to this lazy for her expertise in music, and you gonna tell her that Ren and 10 and rapping Dalmatians is the real deal? Bitch, is you crazy? Get her out of here. Get her out of here. Okay? But then my favorite part happens. Because Ren and 10 are in the studio. The hoe is mine. Gotta get that bitch. I'm first in line. Gotta get that bitch. The hoe is mine. I'm first in line. Okay, listen. Lives rent free in my mind. Rent free in my mind. Okay? gotta get that bitch. The hoe is mine. And I'm mad because y'all know, like, this is the shit that raised her. This is why I put bitch and hoe in songs that don't have them in it for no reason other than the fact that it tickles me. Like, it's insane. It's insane. I blame y'all. I blame the generation before us, okay? They in the studio making this whack ass song, and Dre says it's whack, and the whole outfit is ridiculous. And Simon is like, "Didn't we already talk about this?" And Dre says, "You know what, we did." So he grabs his shit and he leaves. Okay, and when he gets in his taxi, it's Chris Kavi, most deaf, and he has to show that he's stressed out right now. So, of course, Chris is like, bro, what's going on, man? What happened, bro? Like, would somebody sleep with your old lady, bro? He was like, man, ain't nobody giving it to my wife but me. He was like, no, man, I quit my job today, bro, because I was just tired of making bullshit music and calling it hip-hop, you know? Like, he thought he said some deep shit in the back of this man's taxi, and Chris was like, the Grinch that stole hip-hop. He was like, nigga, what you grew a heart? Now you about to save hip hop? That shit was hilarious. Dre got his little feelings hurt. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna walk. I don't have to take this. I'm going home. So he goes over to Sid's, and they try to go to the park and play a little song and play a little game where they guess the song. And she starts rapping I Used to Love Her by Common. Y'all, I love that song. Okay, how it started, I can't even remember how it started, but as soon as it started, I know all the words. She was old school and I was just a shorty, never knew throughout my life she would be there for me on a regular. Not a church girl, she was secular. Listen! That was such a good song. Common was really on his shit. Like, Common is really one of the best rappers. And I feel like the only reason he stopped making music is because he wasn't making as much money doing it. But Common has some of the best songs, bruh. Like, don't even get me started on that. Let me testify. You accuse me of a, you accuse me of a, let me testify. Listen, don't even get me into it. We love Common as a rapper. As a rapper. In movies, he plays the same character, except for the one where he was playing basketball just right. That's the only time he hasn't been playing the same psycho killer in every other movie. Anyway, so he tells Sydney that he walked away from Millennium and he wants to start his own label. And this is what I was talking about of going get your dreams and bringing them back to you. And also, Sydney just moved back to New York, so they're rekindling their friendship. And then also, he's now quitting his job and following his dream of having his own label. So very much again, seeing the truest version of yourself and your childhood friend, and going back to who that person was and bringing their dreams up to where you are now, so that you can be more fulfilled. Okay, so Sid says that she's going to invest in his business and she gives him a check. And then she leaves to go on her date with Kelby. Girl, she go on a date with Kelby. Bitch, let me tell you something. She was us and we was her, okay? Because Kelby bought out the restaurant and he was in the kitchen cooking. I said, that man trying to get his soul drained from his body. Like, that type of action. Because it's not even just throwing your money around. It was also the thoughtfulness and the effort of cooking for somebody. Like, you giving me money and thoughtful effort, my nigga? Are you crazy? Okay? Yes. Yes, Taraji in the video was everything, girl. Yes. So then Dre goes home to Reese in their home that looks like a museum. It's getting cold. They accidentally switched phones that day. They do that often. And she jokes that she was getting calls from all his ex-girlfriends. He tells her he quit his job and he had to. He wants to start his own label. She asks how he could make that type of decision without talking to her first. And as his wife, she really should have been the first person to know that he wanted to do that. She should have been the first person he called after he did that. And the fact that he didn't just really showed that he was not going to be vulnerable with her the way he was going to be vulnerable with Sydney. And that means he should not have married her. And that's just true tea. The wife has to be the person where your vulnerability lies. That's just how it goes. Both people, like, you have to be able to be your most vulnerable self in the marriage with your partner in order for it to really work and to get you past moments where shit's hard. Because if you don't, it's not going to work. It's just not, girl. And y'all didn't have that from the very beginning. She says he often makes decisions without thinking about them. And she says, okay, well, I'll just call some money people. And he says, well, you don't have to worry about that because Sid already said she will help. So now she's pissed off because you've refused her help as the wife that's supposed to be there to help you. And also now she knows that Sydney found out before she did. You're fucking up, Dre. I know everybody wanted to feel like she was so wrong and she was, out of pocket for how things took place. But to me, the only mistake that she made was marrying him. She should not have married him. She should have continued to date him, fucking whatever she wanted to do. But marrying him was something done because he proposed, because he's fine, because he's, affluent in some respect. Maybe not as much as she was because she's an attorney and he has a job. But once that job was out the window, his money wasn't the way it was supposed to be. And we heard that throughout the movie that, oh, he couldn't pay for this and he wasn't paying off the ring because she was paying off the ring once he decided to quit his job. So he wasn't as stable as she was from the very beginning. She was making a lot of decisions, I feel like, in the fairy tale mindset, how it looks instead of how it really is. Because if she was keeping it a buck with herself, Reese would not have married him for a few reasons. You knew he wasn't stable. You knew that he had a connection with somebody else that made you feel uncomfortable. And it was obvious that you didn't wait long enough before you decided to marry him. The way he proposed to you probably wasn't good enough for you either, but you let that roll off. All of those things matter. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, after Kelby and Sydney's date, they're walking on a river and he says he knows that she's not used to having somebody buying out the restaurant and slaving in the kitchen for her. And I'm like, you patting yourself on the back a little too soon, sir. She may not be, but chill out. You know what I'm saying? Because it gives asshole that's trying to act like a good guy. But as soon as you piss an asshole off, that's pretending to be a good guy, they're no longer a good guy anymore. She says, you trying to get the booty. And he says, that's the point, ain't it? And I'm like, see, that's the problem, though. Yeah, you could want to get the booty and shit like that. But why are you talking like that if your end game was to marry her? You know what I'm saying? It felt like he was just joking. But at the same time, it's like, what's happening here? What's going on? She says he needs to work on his game and he grabs her and kisses her. And she says, it's nothing but net. And I'm just like, whatever. Dre is calling her, whispering on the phone, asking her how did the date go. I'm like, why are you worrying? He jealous. When he finds out that Kelby is at her house waiting on coffee, he like, Sid, girl, you're not supposed to be doing like, sir, don't be over here coochie watching. Get up, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone and be coochie watching me, sir. Okay, she says that he cooked for her, and Dre asked if she saw him do it because he could be lying. So, he could be fronting and putting on a show for you. And I'm like, that's because that's what you would do. I do feel like Kelby was on some slick shit, but I feel like Kelby actually probably did cook for her because we later saw Kelby cooking for her in the kitchen. So I think Kelby actually was like into her and really trying to be with her. But I think even though he was like a basketball player and fine and sexy and shit, I think a lot of times those guys cannot have that much game because they can be probably like slow to grow up mentally when it comes to talking to girls. Just because you look good don't mean you know how to talk to a woman. And I always got an inkling that he wasn't as confident in his talk as he was in his physical. You know what I'm saying? So he, trying to be a rapper, but you can't really rap. You know what I'm saying? It was just moments where it felt like he was perpetrating and pretending to be more confident and more suave than he really felt on the inside is what it was given with Kelby. And a lot of basketball players are like that, which is why you can't hurry up and marry them because a switch can happen very quickly. You know what I'm saying? And that's the vibe that it was possibly given because at first it was like he was giving, I'm God's gift and you should be so grateful. And then it was like, you're so amazing and would you please do me the honor of marrying me? Like, just very confusing. And that's how niggas end up, flipping a switch on you one day and you confused trying to understand how he was even able to have a whole nother life. You don't even understand. Okay. So she gets off the phone with Dre and she's like, let's have sex. And so they have sex. Okay. I don't know whether it was good or not, girl, but they had sex. I also didn't like during this movie, there weren't any good sex scenes. Even the scenes between the two of them, they made out and then it transitioned into, the next scene. And I didn't like that. It felt like they didn't really want to give this the not grit, but the sultriness, the sexiness that it needed. It needed some more sex. It did. I'm sorry, y'all. Brown Sugar needed more, brown skin Tay Diggs ass cheeks. Like, it needed more of that, in my opinion. Okay? So Dre goes to see Chris. He's starting his own label looking for that raw shit. Dre asks what he's waiting, what he's waiting on, what his hook. Oh yeah, what's his hook? And Kavi says he doesn't have a hook because he's like, so what you was waiting on, a record label? Like, what's your hook? What you trying to do if you trying to rap? You out here driving a taxi. And Kavi was like, listen, nigga, I ain't come to Millennial asking you for shit, okay? I'm real. My rap is real. My skills is my hook, okay? And he tells him, listen, I really want to work with you. He was like, all right, so help me clean my cab. And he agrees to help him clean the cab in order for Kavi to give him a shot. And, they start working with each other. When he said, you signed the Hip Hop Puppies and you think you could work with me, that shit was hilarious. And also, gully. The use of the word gully. It came in and it went out very quickly. I haven't heard gully in a long time. So Sid sees Reese at her gym, and niggas is in the gym flirting with Reese. And Reese look like she flirting back, okay? But she says that Dre starting this new label has her with more free time. So she guesses that she has Sydney to thank for that. They end up having to partner with each other for a sparring session. And Reese is punching hard as hell. And this whole time, Sydney wasn't punching nearly as hard. Like, she was, I'm not going to apologize for it, bitch. But she up there, bow, bow, bow. All of the secrets that you already, that I have to fight for, you already know. Like, she punching and you up there, da-da-da-da-da-da. I was just like, you should be embarrassed. You shouldn't be embarrassed of those little bitty bitch punches that you were just throwing out just then, ma'am. Oh, that shit bothered me in that scene, y'all. But either way, it was obvious when they first started sparring that Reese was punching hard and she got an issue. And she said, I just want to thank you. Sydney's like, what? Thank me for what? Sid, asked what the problem is. You got a problem with my friendship with Dre? And she's like, no, I have a problem with the fact that you're in love with him. And Sydney insists that she only loves him as a friend and she's not apologizing for their relationship. Reese is blaming Sid for Dre not opening up to her. And honestly, even if she is in love with him, that don't have nothing to do with you. Your issue is with your man and why your man chooses to be married to you but more vulnerable with his best friend. That's a conversation that you need to have with him. Okay? Blaming Sydney is not the way, Sway. Okay? But I also feel like Dre was showing up as avoidant. So I think that the times that she probably wanted to have these conversations, he would avoid them and not be honest. And so there was really nowhere to go, So when she started stepping out on a nigga, it kind of made sense to me. Sid says it's not some little hobby talking about his, record label. Like, he started this record label thing. I rarely see him. And it's like, girl, record label thing, this is his dream. And you're being very dismissive of it. And that just goes to show that they're not equally yoked to me. Reese says, I guess you would know better than me. Child, I guess she would. The nigga is mine. I'm first in line. Okay, so then we got a montage of things aren't the same between Reese and Dre. They're not as into each other as they were at the beginning. Kelby is really cooking for Sid and shit is looking real sexy over there. And Dre is working in the studio with Kavi. And you invited me. You did. You did. He did. That should be going, bro. Ugh. Anyway, so they have a New Year's party at Sydney's place, and Dre thanks his best friend Sydney, who he calls the perfect verse over a tight beat. Child, that's something to say. Kelby was like, damn. Kelby had planned to propose after that, and he didn't think he was going to be able to follow that up, but he did. He got down on one knee and told Sydney that he loved her and asked her to marry him in front of everybody, and it was a better proposal than Dre gave to Reese. And so Sydney says yes. Reese is so grateful in that moment. Like, thank you, Jesus. Get this bitch away from my man, okay? Now, the difference between rap and hip-hop is like loving someone and being in love. Rap is just a word. And when they said that, girl, I was just like, ooh, now we comparing and contrasting. Okay. So both of y'all are loving Reese and Kelby, but in love with each other, which is why they're considered rap and y'all relationship is hip hop. Am I to be clear on that? Oh, okay. So Dre comes over to her and asks if she's competing with him. He's obviously tipsy, jealous, and trying to project onto her. Okay? Chris is flirting with Francine, and he tells her that she looks real nice and her food was delicious and nutritious. I will never get the delicious and nutritious out of my head. Also lives rent free. Excuse me, y'all. So Francine tells Sydney that Chris is actually kind of cute as he's talking to Dre about how he want to try to holler at her, but he acting all scared and shit. And that was so funny to me that Chris's character was always busting Dre's balls, but essentially when it came to talking to Francine, he was over there like a real little bitch. You always clowning Dre for being, a punk, and then here you are, can't even talk to the lady, and you a rapper, and you can't even get your words together. The irony, the irony. Reese tries to get Kelby to hire her as his attorney, while Dre is following behind Sydney, telling her that she's making a big mistake. Sydney tells him that he needs to worry about his own relationship, and the way she said it, he was like, "What you mean by that?" And so she says that Reese goes to her gym, and a lot of men be flirting with her, and she looked like she enjoy it. And Dre excuses it and says, "Well, she's a flirt," ignoring red flags. He was like, "Well, she's just a flirt, You must be jealous." And Sid was like, "Bruh, I'm not jealous. I'm just saying, worry about your own shit and support me the way I've supported you. Okay? That's all we asking for right now, sir." So Sid is supporting Kelby at his practice. And when he comes over to her, she asks if he had read her latest article, and he hadn't read it, and it kind of made her feel a way like, "You've been faking and fronting like you know what I do and you all interested in me," because he came at her through business. But it actually seems like he didn't really know her writing at all, and that made her feel a way. So she leaves his practice and goes to the studio with Kavi and Dre, and I believe he had her phone. Dre had Reese's phone and gets a phone call from somebody named Richard or something like that, and he was like, "The fuck is this?" And I think it was like a notification, like a calendar notification. So he asked for Chris's taxi, and they drive down to this restaurant that Reese is at on a date with a guy named Richard Lawson. Okay, Dre says, "It's funny running into you." Oh, yeah, hey, you know what I'm saying? He's like, "Oh, can I join y'all? Look at y'all singing love songs to each other and stuff." So they sit down. Child, Sydney is over there being dragged behind him, just as embarrassed as she want to be. And Richard is like, "Oh, y'all friends of Reese's?" And he was like, "Actually, funny thing, she's my wife." But of course, you wouldn't know that because she's not wearing the $15,000 ring I bought her ass. Okay, that I'm still paying off on. She was like, "Actually, I'm paying off on it." He was like, "Please don't put my business in the street." The waiter comes over and asks if the couple will be joining them. And Dre says, "Yes, yes, I want to order the most expensive thing on the menu because I want to celebrate what? My divorce." Okay, also lives rent free in my head. How about that? Okay. And so then Sydney grabs him by the ear and drags him out of the restaurant. They go back to her place. And as he's sitting there thinking about everything that's happened, he seems not as stressed as you would expect a man to be. But it's because deep down, he realizes he knew it wasn't really going to work out anyway. But he quotes one of Sydney's articles and says that he used to go down to the park every Sunday and read them because it made him feel closer to her. And she doesn't understand, how he's being so cavalier about this situation with Reese. And this is when he says he knew, he guesses he knew that they weren't meant to be. And she was like, "Well, when did you figure that out?" And he was like, "The day before the wedding." And that's the day that they made out. And Sid tries to fight it, but he pushed up on her and, talked about the connection that they have. And it was sexy. It was sexy the way he was, kissing on her and all of this shit. But essentially, they kiss and then we get a dissolve of them in the bed. And apparently, he only lasted about 5 to 8 minutes. And she says it was the most amazing 5 to 10 minutes of her life. But ultimately, they can't just act like nothing happened. And he's scared she's going to tell Kelby. He doesn't know why it has to be so all or nothing. And I was like, damn, that made me want to listen to Foreign Exchange. Y'all know about Foreign Exchange? I love them. Don't have to be so all or nothing. But yeah, y'all, I don't know what Dre was thinking. Like, so what did you think was going to happen? Like, what did you want to happen? Because right now, it seems like she was about to go break up with this man and you telling her not to. So I was just mad confused right now in this moment. Also, I was like, so we've been not having sex all this time so we can get to a 5 to 8 minute little sad ass sex scene that we ain't even really get, girl. When I tell you, they played us. They played in our whole face with this one. I'm sorry. I'm a revert back to Love Jones for my sex scenes, girl. Ooh, 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 something. Let me break you off, baby. Trying to do it, y'all. But anyway, Dre and Chris go to the radio station Hot 97 to try to get Chris's song on the radio, right? And Chris tells him, when you go in there, you talk to the people, stand your ground. Don't punk out like you did with Sydney, like clowning him, like his ass didn't punk out with Francine. And he lets him know that girl was looking for you to stop her from marrying Kelby, and you punked out. You know what I'm saying? You supposed to be Humphrey Bogart. You know what I'm saying? But you think you about to be going away in the fog with me? Nah, nigga, you ain't about to be going away in the fog with me. Okay, and then he moved next to Lamont Rucker, who was playing a extra. That was so funny. I was like, look at Lamont playing an extra. So time passes, and The Hoe Is Mine comes on the radio. First in line. Chris just was like, wow. Just wow. When he goes in to meet with Trish, okay, I guess the lady who decides what songs are played and put into rotation. Oh, coming to break you off. Coming to break you off. Bad Mrs. throwing raspberry kisses on me. You looking for direction, girl? I feel your vision on me. I see you sweating. We ain't supposed to be involved. That was my shit, bro. We used to play the fuck out that song back in the day. Baby, 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 don't you worry about. Listen, that was my song, girl. We used to play that video over and over again. But anyway, as I was saying, when Dre went into the room with Trish, first of all, he had to figure out how to put the CD into the CD player. And then when he did, she was just like, all right, bye. She didn't even talk to him. She didn't even get off the phone. Okay? So, no conversation, didn't even get off the phone. But later, Sid comes into his hotel and tells him that she just got this new hot unsigned demo to review, and it's Chris's demo. And she feels like this was all his plan to get it on her desk so that she would give it a great review. And she won't do it. She gave it to Gabe, one of the other writers, and he dissed the song, okay? Or he dissed the demo. He says she's the one that's always talking about how she doesn't like how hip-hop has changed. Why can't they remember why they fell in love with hip-hop in the first place? Why they can't go back to that old feeling? But you gotta help me if that's what we trying to do, And we don't know whether we talking about music or their relationship at this point. But he says he says that we have always been talking about I'm sorry, he said this is what you've always been talking about. This is the music that you've been talking about, but just listen again. And as he's telling her to listen again, I feel like he's rubbing his dick on her thigh. And she runs out of the room and tells him that she can't do it. She made her decision. But y'all, I had a problem with this. It was a conflict of interest because she invested in his record label. She did what she was supposed to do for her business. And the fact that he was using the chemistry between him to force her to do that bothered me. Because it made me feel like, do you really love Sydney? Or do you realize that shit wasn't going to work out with Reese and now you need someone else to help you get on? And Sydney is somebody that can help you get on. And it's obvious that his relationship with Reese was about being with somebody who could help you get on. Or that's good for the image. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't... At the time when we first watched it, I definitely wasn't paying attention. But now that I'm watching it, I don't know if he was really genuine with her the way she was with him, or if he just sought being with her as an opportunity to get him where he wanted to go in the music industry. I'm just saying, y'all, something to think about. So Dre meets with Reese to play pool and talk about the divorce, okay? And she went to an attorney, and the attorney asked if they really tried to make it work. And she says they haven't tried to make it work they just kind of ended it like they were in high school. And she reminds him that they took vows. And he said, yeah, but you broke those vows. And she says, yeah, but I also recognize that you had something special with Sydney, but you chose me to be your wife for a reason. And I'm hoping that it's a good enough reason for me to stay as your wife. And he says, listen, we knew from the beginning that this wasn't going to work. And I don't think we have what it takes to make it last. So we can't stay married. And it was a sad moment, but it was also them walking away amicably, Sydney missed her date with Kelby fooling around with Dre. So by the time she gets to the venue, it's over and Kelby's mad. And he asked her how long is she and Dre going to play this game? Like, how long y'all gonna play this game with other people acting like y'all don't want to be with one another when y'all really do want to be with one another? And she says that she doesn't want to get married. She admits that to him. She says that she does love him. He says, but not the way that you love him. And she says that she's sorry. She doesn't know why your heart doesn't do what your mind tells it. I'm like, girl, I don't know. I don't know. The whole do not listen. Anyway, she gives him his ring back. And then as she's walking down the street with mascara and eyeliner running down her cheek, she sees Dre and Reese and thinks the worst, like they've gotten back together. When really they haven't gotten back together. They, were just saying their goodbyes to one another. But she's probably thinking in her mind, I ruined my fucking relationship and these two people are still together. Like, yeah. So we get a montage while Sydney explains that she and hip hop we're so close they finish each other lyrics and they don't have to pretend with one another. Her feelings have never been more clear and she knows that they will never go away. And so now we know that she loves Dre and she's realized she's not going to stop loving Dre. And I think that's interesting too because I'm going to just keep it a buck. The people that I loved when I was younger, I still love those people. And I feel like just because you love somebody, it doesn't mean that y'all are supposed to be together. And it doesn't mean that you have to be with that person in the same capacity. But at the same time, once I love somebody, it's hard for me to stop. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely understood her feeling like she loved him and it's not going to go away. Because when we're young, I think we think eventually it's going to go away. Everybody tells you, oh, it's just puppy love. And it's something, that you're experiencing as an immature child. But then when you get older and realize that a lot of those feelings don't just go away. Like you may not want to deal with somebody anymore, but the actual love that you feel for them, the affection you feel for them, the care that you may have for them. You may not want to be bothered with them, but you don't want anything bad to happen to them. Like those types of feelings. I feel like that shit just really doesn't go away. And it's a young person's thing, I believe, to believe that it does. I think when you keeping it a buck with yourself as you get older, you just learn how to compartmentalize how you feel about people based on their importance in your life at the time. But it doesn't mean that the feelings actually go away. But yeah, so Dre goes back to Hot 97 and says that he's going to come there every week until they put the song in rotation. And he gets the song in rotation. And they're supposed to be playing it during the Angie Martinez show. At the same time, Sydney is doing an interview on the Angie Martinez show. And she just finished her book and she called it I Used to Love Her. It's a love letter to hip hop. And she says a message that she still loves hip hop and she always will. And of course, Dre and Chris are listening. And Chris is like, Humphrey, that's your moment. So he gets on the phone and calls the radio station as he's driving down to the radio station at the same time. And he asked her, I need you to set the record straight. When did you fall in love with hip hop? And she named the song first, and then he said, nah, I'm going to ask you again. When did you fall in love with hip-hop? Meaning, when you fell in love with me. And then she says, Dre, I've loved you since the first day that I met you. And he says, all right, good. Why it took you so long to say that? And she was like, I don't know. I was scared. You know what I'm saying? Hard-headed. He says they're about to play Kavi's record. Big things are happening, but he's not as happy because for the first time he didn't have her to share his life with. He walks into the station and he tells her that he's loved her since the day he met her. She's his heir. And he wrote on a piece of paper, he tired of playing games. Will you go out with me? Yes, no, maybe, which is so cute because you remember how we used to do that back in the day, girl. I have a boy like you like me? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, real cute, right? And Kavi takes his shot at Francine, who was there, telling her to take her shot with this man girl talking at. Okay, so now she asked Kavi out, and they was cute over there in the window and stuff. It was cute. But yeah, they ended up being together. And then the closing shot was them playing Kavi's song on the radio, and it's on a boombox in the park across the street from projects, and the two young kids are sitting there looking like Dre and Sydney listening to the music, bopping their heads. And it showed how this music will continue to be freedom for these kids, to help them find a way out, as long as we making it to do that. As long as we making it for them, it'll always have this cycle of helping them find their freedom, helping them find themselves. And I feel like as a hip hop head, this movie, definitely speaks to like the artistry of hip hop and what it is for the people and why it is a part of the culture as it is, because it was so prevalent. First of all, it was, for the longest, the only way that black people could get out of poverty is through entertainment or service. Okay, and we can't even really get out of poverty through service, but definitely through entertainment. And so, you have music and you create rap, which is out of the desperation of the time, out of the lack of the time, out of the turmoil of the time. This art form is created, and it persists in these kids and in these young black people that feel disenfranchised. So they put all of their hopes and dreams and feelings and experiences into this art form, and it turns into freedom for even more people. Every few years, there's more freedom being provided for the people that are listening, to the people creating the music, to the people finding a way out, to the people that are able to create businesses within the culture because of it. Like, hip hop has definitely been one of the catch-22s of our experience in this country. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it is absolutely the traumas we've experienced. You know what I'm saying? The diamond in the rough example is absolutely, I think, how black people have developed art around their pain, and it in fact has helped free them. Okay, think deep on it now, people. Message. But yeah, y'all, what did y'all think about Dre and Sydney staying together? Because I feel like it's given they might stay together, they might break up. Okay, girl, I'm over Dre and Sydney, child. They gonna make it. Child, they gonna make it 2023 and break up when she moved to Africa. That's too funny. Tay always using Sanaa for his love interest, but you notice they never have any like real sex scenes. Is it because Sanaa doesn't do sex scenes? Is that what it is? Thanks, we were built for our journey. I so laughed when Sydney said, "I want to apologize for it every time I think this movie and damn cucumber sandwiches." And the massager from Brookstone. But anyway, y'all, that was Brown Sugar. I know a lot of y'all asked for that one, and I really love this one. Definitely like reminding me of my best friend and our relationship, and how us now becoming friends again has helped us like become more of ourselves as adults now. Like, both of us, have really determined our friendship needs to stick, needs to stay, because when we lost each other, it was like we were losing a piece of ourselves. And yeah, it wasn't as fun without each other. It wasn't as fun without each other. So I really love in this era in my life, as I'm coming into this person, as I'm finding out who I am even more, as I'm freeing myself from my traumas, and in accepting who I really am as a person, and who I was as a child, and who I, have always been. And having a friend that, through those years saw me, accepted me, always loved me, was always my partner, bro. So like, us having our friendship back really means a lot to me, and watching this movie definitely reminded me of, how that all works. Because essentially, besides the romantic part, that was their story too. Like, losing themselves when they weren't around each other, or when they weren't having their relationship. One or the other is feeling the loss of the other person not being present. And then when they finally do make it back to each other, it's like their lives are starting over again and anew, and things are better now because they found their way back to each other. And I have to say, I feel like it's been the same thing for me, just without the the romantic aspect of it. But yeah, life has been definitely getting better since me and my homeboy came back into each other's lives. So shout out to Jared. Please do save the last dance. Okay, I'll add that to the list as well. It's already on there, but y'all know I can only do so many movies at a time, child. Okay, but I have some more coming out for y'all this week. Okay, so just get ready for those. Be on the lookout. I hope y'all have been enjoying these. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for everybody who is not a member. And I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out, y'all.